Road. There we go.
No, I guess the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the last meeting from July 8th. People have had a chance to look through the minutes at all.
Yeah, the look makes sense to me, yeah.
So
Did I get everybody in there? I wasn't sure if somebody had been there that I had left out. But I
so we
got
have
it.
we had Peter, Kathy, me, Kendra, Joe, and Frank.
Yes, okay. No Derlin.
No.
Okay, okay.
So do we have to have an official motion to accept all that? Is that? Can I get a motion to accept the minutes? Either
Sure.
Kathy or Pete, I guess, the only ones that were there, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, and Kathy, you second it, right?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? Hey, all right, good. All right, update on the survey, paper survey and online survey, Kathy?
Yes.
Kathy?
So we have over 100 paper copies that have been presented to the town.
Wow, that's good.
And yes, and then because Vetro was slow in getting that finalized, we created our own Google Doc form
Right,
and put that up on there. So, and we had over 100 responding to that as well.
well, that's pretty good.
Yes, so well over 200 respondents.
Yep.
Vetro has since finished theirs, so that is now, if you go to the town website, that is now the link to go to the official Vetro thing, and it maps things out. We have input, so I have one of my staff people here inputting from the paper copies onto the Vetro site, so
Okay.
that it will all be online.
That's good.
It's a little, there are a couple of little details in there that we're not sure about. There are some addresses that are legitimate addresses, but through the Vetro system, it says, you put in your address and then it says confirm this one. I just looked at one now. The address is 9 Lookout Way here in Northeast Harbor. We put that in, we know it's a legitimate address, and it comes up at Vetro to confirm as 9 Walls Street in Otter Creek. It's like, no, where did you get that? So there's a little bit of a glitch in there that we need to figure out with that.
The E911 database has never been 100% accurate, and that's probably where they're pulling a lot of that stuff from, unfortunately.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I will, we'll work with them
Yeah.
to figure that out. So, but it's nice that people are responding. So
Right.
that,
That's a
that's a
positive
good
for
thing.
sure.
It's half the battle.
Yeah, and I think though, I had a conversation with Rachel Noble from Tremont. I think Matt, you suggested her to call, right?
Right. She just sort of randomly sent me an email a couple months ago, and
Yep.
I diverted her in your direction.
Thank you.
Is
Well,
she on the select board over in Tremont, or?
she is on the select board, and I think because she was very interested in broadband issues and nobody else is doing it, I think she started a broadband committee.
Oh,
And so they now have about 6 to 7 people on there. They did a survey in 2019 to 2020, and they got just over 300 responses on theirs from a community of 1,400 people. So I'm hoping that we can beat that number anyway,
sure. Are they interested in participating in any kind of a joint
Yes.
project?
Yeah. So far, I think, through the League of Towns, Bar Harbor and Tremont expressed interest.
Yeah.
Then Noble from Trenton expressed interest. And then Kelly Bellis from Ellsworth.
Right.
And I mean, and I think that Lemoyne is also doing some stuff. I think they've got stuff going on. So if there was a real regional thing, all of MDI and out to Ellsworth, that would make a good sense for a regional approach.
Yeah, that would definitely carry more weight and more interest from a lot of potential suitors.
Yeah.
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 For sure.
So that's where we are on the surveys. We put down request that people respond by September 1. I don't know if we want to extend that. You know, everybody is so busy.
Right,
And I don't know if the number of people we've had at those 2 public meetings was pretty small. Is that because of a lack of interest in the topic or because people are too busy? And I'm wondering if we should give more time to the survey.
yeah. Probably, I mean, you're gonna get most people that were interested in it and are, willing to commit a bit of time, probably would have done it sooner rather than later would be my bet, but, But
I still
again,
haven't done it.
Why
you
not?
haven't done it? Oh, my God. Yeah, so that, maybe a reminder somehow, I don't know how we would do that, but. I'm not
Yeah, I
sure.
know that the schedule of future meetings is sort of a little further down on our agenda, but I think right now our next one is scheduled for the 31st. Is that 30th or 31st?
Yes,
And I was just
August-
sort of thinking about that today. We won't quite have survey results back at that point. We've got sort of people trying to get their kids back into school, get into the routine. And I was wondering if we might want to consider, if we were to delay that meeting, maybe we delay the deadline for the survey a little bit as well. I don't know
Yeah,
how
maybe
everyone else feels.
late September, maybe, I don't know. That
Yeah.
could be a possibility, yeah.
Yeah, I think that I don't know that we can change the date on August 31 because we had to line up some people and they have committed to that date.
Okay.
And actually that date is a delay from what we originally had. We were thinking the 24th just to keep it going and not lose momentum.
Right,
Um,
okay,
But so that's why we came up with the next week of the 31st. But I think delaying the results a little bit further would be good. And some of the other meetings that are coming up are with Spectrum and Consolidated. And we might get bigger audiences on those things. And if we did those in September, and that might prompt people to
Yeah.
respond, just more opportunities to do something.
Right.
So,
so you've invited Spectrum and Consolidated to one of the public meetings, yeah,
that's the plan. We have not
Right.
set any dates with them yet.
right,
And is September a good time to try and do those?
right, no,
I don't know, we've
September,
had
October.
meetings before, just as a heads up with Spectrum in particular, where we all showed up and they did not.
Yeah.
So it's not unlike their normal sort of cable customer service, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a big company, unfortunately, there's a lot of.
I did get some kind of correspondence where they shared with me what they had done in other towns. So they kind of wanted to follow somebody else's pattern. But I think that in those cases, Kendra Jo had offered to be the MC and sort of the questioner on those because she's had a lot more experience with it. So
Right, there was something that came up in that public meeting about some conversation with Spectrum wanting to partner with towns in some different function. Maybe, do we have a minute to elaborate on that a little bit, or?
yes, so that was Peggy Schaefer at the public meeting we just had.
Right,
Said that in the town of Southport, they were doing meetings with Spectrum, and Spectrum seemed to be willing to do more with the town.
right,
And so maybe,
right,
I think that they were willing to work with the town in a new way to put in fiber, but then there might be different limitations on the rights that the town might have over that fiber. So
right,
there was, the possibility. By the way, that meeting, that public meeting has been recorded and is available on the town's YouTube site.
Yeah.
And so we can, and I think that they were going to put the link to that on the town website as well. So
right, people
can
can watch it.
even if people couldn't attend, we can try and get the word out there that these things are available. So,
Right,
but as a matter of comparison, I know that yesterday, so Wednesday, cloudy gray day all day, there was a program at the library that Willie Granston put on architecture and connections with nature and architecture. And Ellie Andrews told me that there were 80 people participating.
That's pretty good, yeah.
So, so maybe it's the topic that people, so people can turn out for an event in the middle of the week in the middle of August.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So
I
maybe.
thought you were gonna say they couldn't get internet.
Yeah, that's good.
Well,
That's a nice turnout for Willie. In years past, he's only had a handful of people, so that's nice that he's got a good turnout, you know.
Oh, good.
Do we, I would encourage everyone to, when that link is available, to look at, I thought it was a very informative meeting.
Yeah, share
With,
that around, yeah.
Peggy Schaefer from the Connect Maine Authority and Andrew Butcher from the Maine Broadband Coalition.
Right.
There's just a lot of good information. And I think it's good to hear from people at the top, that are
Right.
going to be responsible for implementing a lot of this. I mean, there's what they say they're expecting to get 400 million from the
Yeah, it's
feds
a lot of money. It's like,
with the
wow.
infrastructure, through the infrastructure bill.
Right.
And
Federal.
it's just a lot of, like, for example, I don't know about you folks, but the one thing I hear all the time, and I asked them the question was, emerging technologies, are we really, is it really the direction to go to think that we're going to string fiber optics everywhere?
No, that's
right?
certainly,
So, they made it very clear and both, that the fiber optics is really going to be the putting fiber optics in many places as we can is going to be definitely the way to go. I think Kathy had mentioned before, referred to as future proof,
Right.
and that these other emerging technologies, be it 5G or be it Starlink, are going to have their niche, but that that the way to go and the way the state looks at it and the way we should consider is running fiber as much as we possibly can. It was also interesting that it wasn't the pole rentals that was so expensive. It's the actual, I think she said the attachment of fiber was a third of the cost. Is it? Do I
Right.
remember that correctly?
Right.
Yes, it was significant, yeah.
And it sounds like the state is working with the PUC to
Yeah.
somehow.
They tried to do a couple of end moves. I know they were talking at some point about trying to take over the power companies and try to.
Probably take over the poles even.
Right.
There might be a separate authority that.
Right.
Anyway, there's a lot of moving parts to this, but
Yeah.
I think that's the thing is if we don't want people, and I'm the first one to admit, when I first came on the committee, I'm like, come on now, it doesn't seem reasonable to string fiber optics majority of areas, but I think I've come to understand, that for the island community, the string of fiber optics as much as we possibly can is going to be the answer.
Yeah.
Or the direction we should head.
Definitely gives you a whole range of options. I mean, it certainly helped all the schools grow over the years from 100 to a gig to now 10 gigs without any real additional huge expense, which is nice. So,
Just FYI, I put in the chat box the link to the town YouTube site that has the recording of that public meeting.
Oh, good.
So
Perfect.
it's in there if you want to access that.
thank you.
And I will say, thinking about federal money, there is going to be an event, a political event, to raise money for Jared Golden, who's our state representative. And somebody I know, the host of the party, is wondering about, okay, let's question him on broadband issues. How can we get our congressional representatives to support us on this? So if I'm planning on attending, and if you want me to pose a public question, put them on the spot, let me know what you want to ask.
Yeah,
I was wondering too if anybody had reached out to Susan Collins or Angus King, because they're so integrated with that infrastructure bill that's going on right now, and there's quite a bit of money dedicated for broadband access.
Yeah, everything I've heard is broadband and infrastructure related to that is a yes from most every representative as far as support for it. Some of the other areas aren't 100%, but I think you won't find anybody saying no to the benefits of that. I think right now it's just a matter of who gets it, I guess, is the question, and how it's distributed as usual. But
well, that's what that's what you're saying, is that they're expecting, I think, 400 million from
right,
that infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
And that's just the one that they paid, the 1 point whatever trillion dollar. I don't know what
Right.
else could be
yeah,
more.
there was additional money from the FCC earlier last year. Most of it got distributed to most of the larger providers for improved service, and Maine got, I don't know, quite a bit from that grant as well, but most of it went straight to providers for expanded coverage as well.
Kathy, is there anything else you want to pass on from that? You know, any ahas or any major points that?
You know, I did think, I thought Peggy Schaefer's point of view, and she admitted, this is only my point of view. And I have satellite at my home in Lubec, but I still think that fiber is the way to go. It's the backbone to everything. And so
Right.
I think that was a major point.
Right.
My notes were about 300 million coming to Maine.
Okay, yeah. I might-
And that is looking at, you know, if it's federal money coming, they're going to be looking at current FCC guidelines for who doesn't have service, because it's always going to be about that, is
Right.
who does or does not have service, underserved or unserved.
Right.
And Maine has a different definition. And so, you know, so Maine might be able to make up some of its own rules about where it's going to put everything, where it's going to put its funding, but it's still going to be to the or underserved first.
Right.
But it's also only going to go to communities that are ready to do it and that have
Right.
a good plan. So I think that, you know, that we really need to make a push to get those surveys done, to really analyze the results, to pinpoint the areas of town that don't have anything, so we can bring people up to a certain level of speed. But then it's really about education to get to that point of fiber is necessary. It's the future-proof system.
Right.
Because if, as a committee, and I think that our predecessors on this committee certainly felt that way, that this is the end goal, is fiber to the premise throughout, and to make it affordable and available to everybody, that we might have to, as a committee, bring people along through education. And I think that this goes back to some of those demos. You don't know what you're missing if you've never had it, you know?
Right.
So getting people access to what really is possible would be great. And I think that, Wendell, you had mentioned you've still got it available if we want to do an open demo day or something, right?
Right. Right now, there's a guest network at all the schools. It's called MDIRSS_guest. It's fairly throttled back right now. I think it's just a 10 meg simultaneous connection, but that's available. You just have to sign into a captive portal and agree to not use it for nefarious means. And then you can use that at will, but I can certainly take the throttle off if we want to have a particular time period. It would be ideal if it would be not during school. I don't think I'd want to do it during school, obviously. But,
So again, that would be during the summer, you mean? Or
yeah, summer or a weekend or something of that nature, obviously. Yeah. We could certainly schedule it. I can schedule it to happen automatically, you know, from, you know, Saturday 9 a.m. to Sunday, you know, 6 p.m. or something like that every weekend if we want to. But
should we try and, how does anybody feel about trying to set a day and really promote that to give people a chance to see what it's like?
Yeah.
And should we have people there to explain how it's going to work? Or
right. I mean, I don't know if we'd have success at having somebody at every school, but we could certainly, the high school would be a good, that probably is the hub and has the best outdoor Wi-Fi coverage. It has the most outside antennas of any school. And of course it has plenty of places to park.
Yeah.
What if, I'm hate to sort of be the Debbie Downer, but I wonder how many people you're gonna get to give up
Yeah,
their time to drive to a school parking lot to log on to a computer. But what if you did it, I believe they still do the electronics disposal at the high school parking lot, like quarterly or something like that. What if, and that's usually on Saturday morning, isn't it?
Universal Waste Day happens once a month. Actually, it's this Saturday and it's at the dump in Southwest Harbor once a
Okay.
month, Universal Waste Day. They have a hazardous waste day once a year at the high school.
And that's usually in September on a Saturday.
Yeah. That's
I was just thinking
that-
about, you had an excuse to get people in the parking lot anyway.
Right,
You might-
right. I mean, yeah.
I think that's brilliant.
Someone at the town office usually coordinates that, isn't it? The public works director guy, Tony?
Probably Tony Smith, yeah.
Yeah, you would be able to tell us what day that's gonna happen, and I could certainly, that would be something for people to do while they're sitting in the long line in their cars anyway.
Exactly. That's brilliant. Yes.
Yeah,
So we have a new marketing person coming into our office here. And her background, she's going to do communications and development work for us. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to use her for this committee to help get marketing out there so we can, really promote these public meetings or that kind of day.
sure.
So I'll try and come up with some plans that we might
Yeah.
tie into and get a date certain on that.
If it's scheduled in September, it should be on the town website already, I imagine, for hazardous waste disposal. I'll have to look and see, but
One other detail related to fiber that I haven't heard is I think you want to stress the reliability standpoint of fiber.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people who have Spectrum coax, even if they're reliable, if they go down, they could be down for 2 hours or
Right.
2 days.
right,
There's no prioritization with fiber. It's always prioritized, and a lot of times it's fixed by the time the end user really knows there's an issue.
right, right.
So I think that's a good point to stress.
That it's more reliable, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, in the 15 years or so that the schools have had fiber networks, I think I can count on one hand the number of times where it had either fiber breaks or an issue with any of the
Yeah,
equipment
it's
going
same
down.
way with the town. The town has been so reliable since they went with fiber.
So
The other thing
when-
too is I don't know if Derlin is open to it, but he could put a public Wi-Fi access point at the town also if people want
Sure.
to try out.
Yep.
They have a 500 meg connection, which is pretty good. So
Yeah, that back
So-
parking
so, but-
area, that's a good area too, yeah, yeah.
So I'm curious, so if a big spruce tree falls down, and takes down power lines, and let's say even breaks a power line
Yep.
and breaks a fiber
Fiber.
optic line,
Right.
so it's a pretty simple thing to put it back together and everything's pretty quick.
Well, I'm
no,
not sure if it's simple, but they do it fairly quickly, and usually they have failover paths, although the island is not great with that just because of the way the roads run, but usually.
just for instance, when our office was in Brewer, we had the only time we were really down for any long period of time was when Cap's Tavern burnt, and
Yeah.
it burned a 3-foot section of fiber right in half.
Yeah.
And we were down for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
Get
That's-
somebody there to splice it in.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, they were already on the road, ready to
Yeah.
fix it. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they take that pretty serious. I know the guy that personally that works for Spectrum, and he's pretty responsive to that kind of stuff 24/7. They have a special truck and, air conditioning, and it's pretty nice working conditions where they have to do it.
So Kathy, is there anything else as far as the prior community engagement events? Seems like we reviewed the events. We kind of looked at the schedule of future events, right?
Well, right now, the only firm schedule we have is for Tuesday, August 31st, around digital equity.
Right.
And so that is Susan Corbett, who first of all, and I would love to introduce her because I am a big fan of hers. She
Yeah.
created Axiom Technologies
Oh, right.
and
Yeah.
then stepped back from that. They got somebody else in place, and then she created the National Digital Equity Center.
Yep.
And they are going for there's still a sort of an education program under Axiom, but they're going for their standalone nonprofit status. And the woman who is the chairman of their board formerly used to work at Connect Maine Authority.
Right.
And so has, good connections there. So I think it's the two of them. We
Yeah.
may also try and get somebody from Senator King's office who
Yeah.
works on these kinds of issues as well. So I think that, it could be an interesting few people in there.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
that's the
interesting.
only one we have set up so far. And I will reach out to both the contacts that Kendra started. We we started it and then they said, yeah, my schedule looks crazy, let's hold off. But I think it's time to get back onto it for September or October for either of those. And I, I suggested Tuesdays at 5:30 because Tuesday was not a regular meeting day for the Board of Selectmen or the Planning Board. So Tuesday did not have a standing committee meeting.
Right.
And 5:30, I thought, okay, kind of after work, before dinner, but is it a bad time? Has that time stopped people from showing up, I wonder?
Yeah, hard to know. Yeah.
If you want to do it, you make the time, I figure.
Right,
So,
right.
you
Not
know.
too much.
So,
Well,
but
maybe as we gain momentum, there'll be more and more
yes.
interest.
And I would love to have any help from anybody else on the committee in terms of getting the word out and marketing it. I think,
Right.
sharing Facebook posts or anything else to get it moving along would be a great help. So,
Yeah, as school comes back in session, we can certainly use the newsletters and the website to help a little bit with some of that, for sure.
I just didn't want it all to be just about only my face on there, because then I'm afraid people in the community might think that this is just an MD365 thing, and people love to hate us. So I just don't want that to hurt the committee and the town efforts on this, So,
Yeah.
oh,
What should be our focus, or how would we try to bring some of these other groups together at some point in the fall, maybe? Yeah. That's interesting. I'm not sure how to do that, or
other communities.
yeah, if we're ready for that, or if we need more work on our own first. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it would be good if we had our own story straight before we and made some commitments ourselves and saying, this is our biggest priority.
Right.
How do we tie that into somebody else's? But
Yeah.
But maybe we should start planning ahead for getting those groups together, even if we don't have results yet.
Yeah, maybe something where, late fall or early winter or something. Yeah.
Should we shoot for like a November meeting?
Yeah, reach out to some of those people, I guess we should, and see if that would be interesting to them or not, if they're ready or not. Just to kind of get a sense of what the other communities are wishing for or hoping for.
Yes. So the people that I did have contact with from those other communities, I sent them a link to that public meeting so that
Right.
any of them could join. And some of them said they could not, but
Right.
want to keep an eye on it.
Right.
And then one of them did. So
Yeah.
I would continue to engage them just to say,
Perfect.
this is
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we're doing. Do it yourself if you want to join
Right,
in,
right.
et cetera. So
Perfect. Yeah,
just to keep that connection going.
sounds good.
Should we, are we ready to move on to the appointment of Frank Paulsell?
I think so.
Cool. Yeah.
So
Was he, I
Frank,
think, was he at the other meeting the other couple of days ago? I think he was there, wasn't he?
He was, yes.
yep, and he was at our last board, our broadband committee.
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't know, did you distribute his application, I believe, but I can read it over.
Okay.
So Frank lives on the Hadlock Pond Road, and he has former experience as a broker. He considers himself an amateur builder and architect, and he's interested in high-speed internet. I'm sure where he's located, he probably doesn't have any high-speed internet.
Yeah, where's that Hadlock Pond? Is that by the actual pond, Hadlock Pond? Road?
Yeah, that's that pink house
Oh, okay. Yeah.
on Lower Hadlock.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, he just feels, he says, increases in importance every year. He just feels like it's going to get more and more important to have high-speed internet.
Right.
So he seems to have a keen interest, and I guess I need a motion to nominate him, I guess,
Yeah, sure. More the merrier.
in a second.
Sure.
Okay, Pete, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, way to go, Frank.
And now the process.
You ought to pull the same stunt you pulled with me and make him chair.
Oops.
I think that I will let the town office know and that we have approved it, and they will put this on Monday's agenda for the
Right.
next Board of Selectmen meeting
Right,
for official approval, so.
sounds good.
So then, I guess we're at other business. Do we have any other business? I know one thing was what we already discussed with Wendell about the hotspots or whatever, the open access.
Right, yeah, I mean, if we can find out about that, hazardous waste day.
Well,
And we could-
and I just checked the town office, the town site, and they don't have one set right now for 2021.
They don't.
But,
Okay.
but last year, it was held on Saturday, September 26th, so sort of
Yeah.
late in the month.
Yeah,
And so that, if that same kind of date holds true, it would probably be Saturday, the 25th.
Yeah.
So,
we can call, I know that's usually coordinated through the Hancock County. They have some kind of a hazardous waste kind of group, so maybe they have something up there we could check, or Tony would probably know for sure, yeah.
let's see if they have it.
Yep.
Looking at September 2021, they do not have anything on the calendar yet for that.
Nothing listed, yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
we can ask Tony and
Yeah.
see about trying to confirm that, and
Yeah, it doesn't take any time for me to click the buttons and make it happen. It's just a matter of publicizing it so people will know about it, I guess, yeah.
well, I'll email Tony and see if they have a date for it yet.
Right, yep. Sounds good.
Okay, anything else?
I'll just add, I was asked to speak at next week's summer residence meeting
Oh,
about
nice.
broadband.
Yeah.
So I didn't know whether there was something specific any of you folks wanted me to mention. I thought I would just give a sort of a quick synopsis of how we got to where we are, sort of the fact finding we're doing now. Encourage them all to go online and do the survey now that it's online through Vetro. And that was sort of it. I think I will bring up, and Scott, you brought this up, and I think it was Dan McKay at the last meeting about the, are we sure fiber is not going to be obsolete in 5 or 10 years? I think it's really important to kind of repeat that, because we're so used to with technology,
Right.
your cell phone's obsolete in 2 years, but this is sort of here for the long term, certainly. So
Yeah, you could mention that pretty much everything that uses the internet, whether it's a satellite or whether it's a cell phone or whether it's pretty much anything, has fiber in back of it somewhere.
Right.
I
And
mean,
the
that's
other
how the
thing
whole
that-
world
the
is
other-
linked together, yeah.
The other thing I learned was really how throttled back it really is.
Yeah.
That we're not even beginning to meet, the full capabilities of it. And that is, and as the need increases, it's not a matter of we got to run better fiber. It's
No.
just all the other
Right.
little components that are easily to be switched out to allow you to.
Right.
That's
when
what I
the-
think of it.
When the school district went from 1 gig to 10 gigs, that was offered through the main school and library network, we had to basically replace the switches and the little fiber light stuff to make it capable. Of course, every leap in an order of 10 magnitude is, more expensive, where a 1 gigabyte switch might be $500, a 10 gigabyte switch is $2,500. So there is some cost for the added bandwidth capability of the hardware. But as far as the limit, I know there are 100 gigs, and they're much faster than that even switches out there. I mean, the main school and library network, I think, switches out at a terabyte somewhere up in Orono. I don't know what their switches are
But your point, and I think what I understand is that it's those pieces right now
Yeah.
that are limiting the
Correct.
actual use of fiber optic, right?
Right, and of course, what you're willing to pay for as far as bandwidth goes. 'Cause you
Right.
have to-
You see the same thing with cable, like
Yeah.
when cable came out, when they were doing copper, it was a lower speed, and they've been just like
Yeah.
pushing that technology for 25 years, and now it's getting to a point where they're pretty much at their capacity for what you
Yeah,
can
that's-
do with copper.
With coax right now, with a decent, good quality piece of coax, not an older one, but a quality new one, good connectors, and a good modem, you can get close to a gigabit through
Yeah.
a coax right now. So, but fiber is.
Matt, I was thinking about your presentation.
Yeah.
Kathy has that wonderful PowerPoint that I think is a great overview. Don't you, Kathy, that maybe he could use?
The
And-
one we
and-
did for the first public meeting, yes.
Yeah, and maybe, and I can't remember if it was part of it, but to me, two additional pieces that I'm not sure yours had was the whole question about fiber, right? And then the other part is what we seem to be thinking about with the new infrastructure bill as to 300 million, minimum 300 million coming our way.
Right.
To the state.
That'll
Yeah,
be-
Kathy, is it okay if I sort of peruse through your Dropbox folder and?
Yes,
What
so,
would they
yeah,
choose?
go to the, I was gonna say, go to the broadband at Mount Desert, that Dropbox folder. There's a folder in there, a subfolder, community engagement, public
Yeah.
meetings. And I think I have it as a July 27 presentation. It's a PDF file.
Yeah.
If you want, I can email it to you.
Okay, I'll take a look around over the next couple days. I think the meeting's on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's on the 18th. And so happy to have you use that. And if you want, I can, further down in that folder, it is the PowerPoint view, and you can use that to doctor it any way you like,
Okay,
So
perfect.
feel
Thank
free
you.
to use it.
Thank you
But
for
I
doing
would
that.
say, yes, tell them we're gonna have one more public meeting, do the survey. Let them know that these things, if they have missed them, they are recorded on the town YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And make that available.
Sounds great.
All right, anything else?
I think that covers it for today.
So our next committee meeting is going to be September 9th, but a reminder,
For the 31st, yeah.
the 31st will be and it'd be great as much if as many of the committee members possible can be a part of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Sounds good.
Just so that we're all on the same page, the kind of information that we're receiving from our different guests.
That sounds good. All right, guys, thank you for all your time.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks.
So Ryan, so Wendell, you heard about Ernest, right?
Yeah, that's kind
Yeah,
of sad.
okay.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
happened?
He passed away. I
Ernest
think,
Coombs
yeah.
passed away.
Did
Yeah.
he?
Was a bus driver for many, many years
Yeah.
at Mount Desert.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's a
great
good
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you.
All
All right.
right.
Thanks for
Take
coming.
care.
I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.